Hello and welcome to a quick masterclass in how to survive an NDIS review or an ART tribunal. We will be covering both. So the reason that I wanted to do this one today is that I have met so many mums who get so emotionally invested in their request for additional funding and they put so much time and effort into it. And then when they get met with a no, there is only so much that they can take and they ultimately stop trying. So I'm going to start with a stat. Only 2% of NDIS complaints ever make it to the tribunal stage, but then 60% of those that do win. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is and why that means that you should keep persisting in your complaint if you have raised one with the NDIS. So we're going to be talking about the NDIS plan review options and from the first step all the way through to the Administrative Review Tribunal or ART, or ART for short. Okay, so first of all, if you are doing a complaint with the NDIS, you will have likely received a plan and been dissatisfied with it, at which point you will request a plan reassessment to create a new plan. This is called an S48. As an anecdote, I supplied 60 plus pages of new medical evidence and reports from physio, speech, OT, psychologists, neurologists, including new diagnoses of epilepsy and cerebral palsy and things like that when I did my S48. The NDIS then has 21 days to decide if it will conduct the assessment, vary the plan, or take no action. If approved, a new plan will be developed, and if not, you'll be left with the same plan. But either way, you might feel dissatisfied with the outcome. So at this point, if you are still dissatisfied, you will request an internal review, an S100. An internal review is internal in the NDIS, so that it's the NDIS checking on the NDIS. It's a formal challenge of the reviewable decision that you received in the letter when you received your plan. The NDIS has 60 days to complete the review from when you raise the S100. It's not a lot of time, really. So they tend to rush things out and make quick, hasty judgments and decisions. So if you have submitted an S100, you will either be successful or unsuccessful in getting that review done. My request for an S100 was denied. So at this point, it's been months. You're probably feeling really frustrated. And this is the important moment for you just to decide, do I keep going or do I give up? And this is where so many mums give up and stop trying. They've met with a no, they've done the review process, they were met with another no. How much longer can this go on? And is it even worth it? Well, I'm here to tell you to keep going. This is the reason why we see the same diagnosis with drastically different plans on the NDIS. So if you are still unsatisfied with the outcome, you would then apply for an external review with the Administrative Review Tribunal. So that is the ART checking on the NDIS. It's external to the NDIS now. And you have 28 days to do that from when your S100 was denied. So you need to do it quickly. Just a tip on that, by the way, if you are not sure if you want to go to the Administrative Review Tribunal or not, jump online and fill out the form and pop in your application to be in the system for that process. You can always withdraw. But if you're not sure and you're on day 27, just go ahead and apply for the ART. So if we look at this timeline of the NDIS to tribunal process, it is super common to get to point 4 and want to give up. You've been rejected twice and you've gotten nowhere in months. And this is the part where I would encourage you to dig in. So what are your next steps? The good thing is you always have more options to push back on, but the flip side of that is that it makes it easy to get overwhelmed and burn out because there are always so many options. Okay, so what really happens at the ART? Once you've applied for ART, you are supposed to receive a confirmation letter and the TDocs in 28 days. So the TDocs are the evidence that the NDIS are actually relying upon to uphold their decision. It'll usually include your current plan and any reports that they have. In reality, it could be 3 to 4 months before you receive confirmation in your TDocs. After that, what happens next? So after that, a case conference will be scheduled. This is the first in a series of dispute resolution meetings held before going to the tribunal stage. It will be scheduled for about another month away and about 3 months after you applied for the ART. So just for context, I received my T-docs the day before the first case conference. And when I was reading them, I noticed that they contained none of the new evidence or reports that I had provided to the NDIS when I originally raised my S100. And if I had have given up back then when I had gotten that first rejection at my S100, I would never have known that the decision that they were making wasn't even considering the new evidence or the new diagnoses. In a way, this was reassuring that the decision had not been made with all of the information. But on the other hand, it meant that the first case conference was quickly adjourned to reconvene after the NDIS had read the evidence. It felt like such a waste of time because it had been 6 months since I started this process and supplied 60 plus pages of evidence, and now they wanted to adjourn to actually consider it. But that being said, it's great to actually get to the case conference stage because this is what happens at a case conference. This is your chance to actually have a say, shorten timeframes a little bit, and make things happen. So there will be you, the NDIS lawyer, and a registrar who is not a judge. The registrar will facilitate the proceedings, set timetables, and keep matters on track. The registrar is independent from the NDIS and will listen to you both equally, and you will adjourn with a timetable of who needs to submit what evidence by when. And the registrar keeps everyone to that. So your second case conference will be set for a couple of months after the first, when everyone has had time to read the evidence, respond, and respond to the responses. By your second case conference, it's likely that you will have an offer of supports or a negotiation or an offering of what they're willing to concede. And you can then choose to accept or reject this offer of supports. And spoiler alert, you should reject this. They are at this point trying to avoid going to the expense of court, which is more likely to go in your favour, remember. So in your second case conference, you would now at this stage be wanting to request an early hearing. If case conferences are dragging on without progress, you can request that the case conferences proceed to a hearing. You always want to be pushing past case conferences towards a full Administrative Review Tribunal hearing as quickly as possible, because the NDIS will ask for as long as possible and kick the can down the road to wear you down emotionally. The thing is, this is a strategy that they use. It's called the delay and deny strategy. So the NDIS lawyers are going to deny your request and delay proceedings for as long as possible, hoping you just give up. Their strategy will go something like this. You submit new evidence. They say our position remains the same. Rinse and repeat for months. So do not get discouraged, please. I beg you. This is a legal tactic designed to make you give up. There's systems much bigger than us at play here. There's a lot of money at stake, but this is a really low energy, like low effort, low risk, low cost tactic for them to do, just waiting for you to bow out. Their lawyers are not reading your evidence. They are copying and pasting responses without even changing the names and the diagnoses half the time. I've heard so many stories of people receiving rejection letters that have someone else's details on them. They're running on autopilot and they're not really considering your matter and just repeating not enough evidence. So how do you fight that when you're just one person? You really need to adopt their mentality. So before you even open the correspondence or go to that meeting, already know in your head what your response will be. Refusal of their offer and engaging in further legal proceedings. You need to be committed in your head and your heart that this is going to take a year. That time's going to pass anyway. And at the end of the year, you're still going to wish you had those supports. So just write it out, because you will reach a point where it suddenly flips and then now you are wearing them down. So when is that point? So when you push past case conferences to a full hearing, the maths changes and suddenly the NDIS aren't saving money anymore and they have to consider what will happen at a full hearing. So here's the actual calculation that they're doing. According to their own internal analysis from 2023, the average cost for the agency to take a case to an art hearing is roughly $29,899. And don't forget, on average, they lose. So this is the other time that you will really need to dig in. It will be very tempting to accept their first offer of supports. The NDIS will really want to avoid going to the Administrative Review Tribunal because there are 3 ways that an art hearing can go. Scenario A, they fight and they lose, which means they have to pay the hearing costs plus the money for your budget. Scenario B, they fold now, they only have to pay for your budget. Or scenario C, they fight and they win, in which case they still have to pay at least 30K in hearing costs. So if your evidence is strong and they think they will lose, fighting it is just setting an extra 30K on fire. If you can push them towards an art hearing and make it clear that you aren't going to drop it, it is highly likely that suddenly the NDIS lawyers will fold during your case conferences. That is why you want to always be barreling towards ART as quickly as possible. It increases the pressure for them to choose scenario B. So obviously we want them to choose scenario B, but we have to make sure that they know that we are prepared to go all the way to the tribunal to make that happen. So yeah, it is supposed to be mentally exhausting and emotionally draining, but you can build a wall around that. This is a mental game. So tell yourself that this is going to take a year and settle in for the long haul. The time is going to pass, regardless of if you have these proceedings going on in the background or not. You may as well let the system run its course while you continue with life. The key is not to sink your hopes and dreams into getting a resolution in the next few months. Because remember, you will still need those supports in a year as well. That's why you need to do it sustainably. Decide not to get emotional about it. Know that it's going to come down to evidence and getting that evidence in front of someone who will actually consider it, which is a judge at a hearing. Everything before that is just admin. Detach your emotions from the admin. So I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to not burn out NDIS edition, which is tough. I can't understate that. You are one person dealing with an entire government system. This is not a fair fight. So you need to protect your energy while you do it. Okay, so how do we do that? Contain it. So don't let it take over your entire day. If you want, you can set NDIS office hours. And do what you need to do for the day and then shut it down and don't think about it. This is not a 24/7 job. They're clocking off at the end of the day and someone else is coming along to replace them. You don't have the luxury of someone else coming along to replace you, so you need to keep it minimal. Number 2, control the conversation. Not every check-in needs a full emotional update. When therapists, friends, or family ask, and you're not feeling it, you do not have to engage. You can just have a little line ready to throw out there, something like, "I'll let you know when there's news," or "Thanks for checking in. I'll be sure to update you." You don't have to relive it and get sucked into that emotional whirlpool every time someone asks. Number 3, I know this is basic and cheesy, but protect your sleep. Do not open emails late at night. Give yourself space to respond. Avoid going to bed with a racing brain because everything feels harder when you're exhausted. Number 4, keep your life balanced. So see friends and family and talk about things outside of the NDIS. I could take my own advice with this one, but do normal life things. Your whole life is not this process. Number 5, don't carry it all yourself. Get support where you can. That might be a support coordinator. You could reach out to a disability advocacy group. You could have legal aid, just trusted people who understand, or you can always DM me or engage my services as well to help you through this. You do not have to hold the whole system in your head. Okay, number 6, be strategic, not reactive. So you don't have to provide everything that they ask for because they are going to ask you for a lot. Remember, this is part of the wearing you down process. They can say, we don't have every single report from the hospital. Can you provide it? Even though it's not relevant, they might ask for things like that. So you're going to only provide evidence that strengthens your case. Do not over-provide just because you're asked, and avoid repetitive or irrelevant tasks. More isn't always better when it comes to providing documents. Better is better. Number 7, set communication boundaries. Request written communication if calls overwhelm you. Set clear availability hours and don't respond on nights or weekends because you are allowed boundaries. Number 8, reduce the mental load. So keep notes, timelines of key points. You don't have to rely on memory alone. Keep little records of things like a log of who you spoke to when because your brain is already full. And let's just acknowledge the impact. Like, this is tough. Feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and angry is totally normal because this is a really hard thing to do. So number 10, take breaks when you need to. Step away for a few days if needed. You can absolutely pause this process without quitting, and definitely get professional support if it's too much. Just don't forget as well that resting is not giving up. So you don't lose at an NDIS review because you're not capable. You lose because you're probably too exhausted to keep going. So protect your energy because that matters just as much as your strategy. So if you do want more support, you can always message me on Instagram. Head over to the Mum First Instagram to find links on disability advocates by state. The Mum First private parent Facebook group has heaps of other mums in there who get it. If you want to just chat and vent, they're always there 24/7. And I offer my services as an NDIS and disability parenting coach if you want one-on-one support from me directly. So my website, mumfirst.com, has a bunch of free resources, including NDIS affirmation cards to help you through this journey, and a really good bundle on how to write a carer impact statement with examples, plus a bunch of peer-reviewed journal articles called the NDIS bibliography that you can copy and paste and use in your evidence. And those are all free. I really hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. See you guys online.